Good morning. This is the update for July 2nd, 2025. I'm Diane Sare, president of the LaRouche organization. So Le Monde, which is the leading daily newspaper in Paris, France, has a lengthy article on stablecoins, the topic of my symposium of about 10 days ago, which I recommend everybody watch. And the question as to whether this is just a scheme to bail out the United States by looting Europe and others, or something much worse. And my friend Jacques Cheminade, the former presidential candidate and leader of the party Solidarité et Progrès, had a few comments on this article, which I am just going to share with you because you should be alarmed. And I will tell you that it's my view that this is moving in the direction of destroying the conception of the nation state, because if the government doesn't have control over money, which we already don't really with the private Federal Reserve, then it's up to the billionaires. And if you want to put your life and your future and your children and grandchildren's futures in the hands of private billionaires who don't know you and couldn't care less about you, well, think again about that. So what Le Monde talks about is the Genius Act, which just passed in the Senate. And they give some detail. They say it appears to be an entirely new phase of looting of European assets by a heavily indebted American empire, moving into a new phase of cannibalization of its own allies in order to survive and prepare for war. That's the comment of Mr. Cheminade, I'm sure. And they say that what's happened is this began just a few years ago, but there's already close to $250 billion worth of stable coins in circulation, starting with a mere $1 billion in 2018. And they're talking about getting to $2 trillion worth of Bitcoin by 2028. Apparently 90% of the market is dominated by two American actors, Tether, which has 66% of the stable coin, and Circle, which has 28%. Both companies are doing great, cashing in, because what happens is you pay dollars for the stable coin for 1-to-1 ratio, and then the stable coin issuers back that up. They invest that in treasuries, and then they get to make a profit of whatever they're earning on the treasuries. So you're going into stablecoin allows these companies or these bankers to make an enormous amount of money. Tether earned $13.7 billion in 2024, and Circle has seen its capitalization multiplied by 6 in less than 3 weeks, beyond $48 billion. In the last 12 months, transactions in stablecoin represented, looks like $34 trillion, according to Visa. That's all the transactions in a year. So why is this dangerous? Besides the fact that you're creating an entirely new currency, which has absolutely zero relationship to physical production, that is the real economy, and can cause hyperinflation and a blowout of the system. Well, the other issue is that stable coins are lodged in the same blockchains as cryptocurrencies, which are then connected to the dark net, which is used by criminals to launder money from organ harvesting, drug money, weapons, human trafficking, etc. So as Jacques put it, it's a clear call to all mafias that the time has come to join the system, when the United States must find investors to cover the equivalent of a 7% deficit in their GDP. That is our debt. I forget what it is now, 33 trillion, 35 trillion, 37 trillion, something insane. We don't produce, and playing with money won't solve it. So some people are waking up, but we really have to return to the Hamiltonian principles of a national bank and treasury, and the issuance of coin and credit, currency and credit, is in the hands of elected government officials that the American people have some control over, not private central bankers. And if you think it's good to have everybody running around with their own money, then you are prepared to give up the sovereignty of our nation, because it means whoever has the most money will rule the day. Now, on other matters, there is a very dangerous brewing destabilization attempt again against Russia, which has just liberated Luhansk and is moving to finish the liberation of Donetsk. And I will say Putin gave a report 2 days ago where he talked about what Russia is doing in the new oblasts, which have become part of the Russian Federation. They have built in the last 2 years over 20,000 structures, schools, hospitals, government buildings, apartment buildings. They're working on that now. New roads, new rail. It's a very carefully planned development program to lift everybody to a decent standard of living. It would be nice if we had leaders in the United States who cared so much to improve the quality of life for Americans. But what is happening, I'm just going to show you a map, and I'm not going to go into details because the details are still a little bit murky. But as people may be aware, and you're looking here at the Caspian Sea, the Black Sea, the Mediterranean, this, of course, is the crossroads, and the British have always played games in this region to destabilize countries and pit them against each other. And you see here, down here, Syria, Turkey, Iraq, Iran, Azerbaijan, Armenia. Azerbaijan and Armenia have had quite a dispute over Nagorno-Karabakh. Just recently, Armenians were expelled from there. It's a very difficult situation. And there are a lot of Azeris also in Russia, which is above this region. Well, somehow an office of the Russian news service Sputnik in Azerbaijan was raided by their authorities. Supposedly in Russia, there were 2 Azeri nationals, or one may have dual citizenship with Azerbaijan and Russia, who were arrested. They're saying one of them was beaten. And now you have calls from people urging a general upsurge. Now, I want to just show you something, which is this important map. This is in red, the new international north-south transportation corridor. This opens up massive trade between Russia, Turkey, Iran, India, the whole region. And it's just been completed, I think maybe for a number of months. It's tremendously optimistic. It will bring wealth to the whole region. Look where it flows, right through Azerbaijan and Iran, 2 nations under attack. Do you think that the British Empire deliberately intends to disrupt this new corridor, which is going to make the entire region more prosperous? I would suspect, just like Lawrence of Arabia blew up the Berlin to Baghdad railroad, that the British absolutely are involved in this, and we will be hearing more about it, but it's something to watch. Now, otherwise, on Southwest Asia, Bibi Netanyahu will be in Washington, D.C. Monday, meeting with President Trump. Trump has just lifted sanctions on Syria. He's clearly trying to move ahead with the ill-conceived Abraham Accord, which he accomplished in his first term, and of course, did not include the Palestinians in the consultation. So they were supposed to get an archipelago of a bunch of little areas in Gaza and the West Bank surrounded by Israel. And who would go for that? But the idea was to kind of assuage the other Arab states, get them to recognize Israel, and this was supposed to bring stability. Well, now that Syria has a quote unquote former head chopper as head of state, Assad is gone. This person is more likely to recognize Israel. So therefore, the sanctions have been lifted. And what President Trump has said that he intends to do is broker some kind of Israel-Hamas deal to free the remaining hostages, of whom there are 50, about half dead and half alive, and in return for a ceasefire and not a Palestinian state, but some kind of protectorate. I don't think this is really going to go over. And the genocide is continuing. At least 600 people by now have been shot trying to get food at the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation operated relief sites. The shutting down of UNRWA was just part of the genocide scheme, and it's very dangerous. And I would like to say, as a former candidate for federal office, that if the United States would act like the United States of George Washington and John Quincy Adams, and also work with Russia and China, we could stop this fighting. There was no need for the deaths of several, probably 200,000 to 400,000 Palestinians. Frankly, October 7th probably could have been avoided and prevented if we were on the same page. President Reagan got Menachem Begin to stop bombing southern Lebanon in a phone call. It took about 20 minutes. President Trump was able to stop Bibi Netanyahu from sending 30 bombers over to Iran. So the idea that we have to have this kind of theater where we're launching mother of all bomb bunker buster strikes on Iran, but perhaps letting them know first to not destroy their enriched uranium or not let anyone get killed, and then Iran informs us when they're about to attack Qatar. And this is very dangerous. And now, apparently, Rafael Grossi of the IAEA is saying that he has to be let into Iran because they're going to have a nuclear weapon within 2 months. The problem is, what's become clear is that he was not an impartial observer. He has close ties and friendships to people in Israeli intelligence. He gave them the names and probably addresses of the Iranian nuclear scientists who were then assassinated. So Iran does not want him coming back into their country. I don't blame them. So you see the potential for this getting completely out of control. And President Trump, because of his own prejudices, probably some dose of Christian fundamentalism, his desire to build hotels or whatever it is, has walked into a trap which may be beyond his control. And this thing may erupt in a horrible way, which is why people should continue to get out that leaflet. Will there be thermonuclear fireworks before the 4th of July? And we'll be distributing it right through the holiday all over the United States. So that's the update for this morning. Please like and share the video, donate to the LaRouche organization, and I hope we see you soon. And if I don't see you before then, have a wonderful 4th of July.